Many people in the OSR part of the tabletop role-playing game hobby like to point out to everyone else that they are better than they are. They don't say it directly, they just imply it. Some of the ways in which people from the OSR will try to tell you that they are better than you is pretty, far-reaching. It's a stretch that is so unrealistic, I can't believe they go down that path sometimes. And then you'll meet certain members of the OSR. Maybe like a game master who could not put up any live session play, from their games for years. So they wouldn't, put that up as a standard that you should put up actual plays. You would never hear them mention that in their content. And actually, in some cases, they would say that's not necessary. If you know what you're talking about, and then people take that back to the table and it works, that should be good enough. And like I would say, most people can tell when you're full of shit and when you're not. So you really don't have to show live plays. Like if you're full of shit or if you're weak on what you're saying, it's going to be noticed. And if you're confident with what you're saying and you're really out to help people, it doesn't matter if you show an actual play. It only matters if your advice works at the table. Are you ringing bells with the people that are willing to hear you out? Well, if you are, you're doing a good job. So what happens after that person finally puts up an actual play, something they haven't done for a long time? Well, here we go. Now they say, if you really know what you're talking about, you'll show it in a live play. Now they put that standard up. When they couldn't put up a live play, that standard didn't exist for them. They wouldn't even acknowledge it. Actually, they were the opposite. They were opposed to what they are saying now. But the second they can put up the actual play, now that's a standard. And if you don't have an actual play to put up, you must suck, or you can't say you are as good as they are. For all the criticism that we throw at 5e people and their actual plays and everything else, I don't hear those people coming out and saying, hey Condor, you're not as good as me if you can't show a live play. I don't hear that side of the hobby making that argument. I only hear stuff like this coming from people in the OSR. Here is the type of ridiculous crap that you run into when you meet someone in the OSR trying to do this, but they're going a little too far with it. Like imagine you're watching a stream and there's some OSR people saying, we went and visited a real dungeon in real life, right? And then we came back and started running the game. And suddenly we were running dungeons better. Meaning, hey, if you really want to run a dungeon as good as you can, you got to go visit one in real life. And if you haven't visited a dungeon in real life, you're not going to run it that well. You're not going to run it as good as they run it now that they visited the dungeon. Do you get it? Right? Like any time they can set a standard that says they are better than you for whatever reason, even if it's ridiculous, they will. They do this every day. People in the OSR do this every single day through tweets on Twitter and other social media posts, through videos, through streams. Go watch them almost every day. There is something within what they are saying where they are implying that they are better than you. What does that tell us about people in the OSR? That many of them are insecure. Because if you're really confident about your own talent, you wouldn't have to constantly imply that you are better than people. You're only going to do that if you're really not confident in yourself, meaning you're full of shit. And in most cases, when I hear these people go on, and then I see them actually game, because some of them do put out actual plays, they suck at what they're doing. I'm just being real with you, right? Most people I see, even on the other side, like say on 5e side, could run circles around these people. You'll hear them complaining about roleplay, about how roleplay is done. You go watch, and they suck at the roleplay. And then you go watch people that don't care too much for roleplay, run circles with quality roleplay around these people like it's nothing. I've encountered it. Years ago, I encountered someone who was really big on the roleplay stuff. From the old school, you might want to say, but not really OSR. And I got into a game with him after years of him going on and making videos. And what happened? Even though I'm not in on things like he is, I don't mind breaks. I don't mind out of character talk. But he didn't like that. So I went into a game and I ran a game for him that was all about what he wanted. And what happened? I ran circles around his ass role-playing. Right? It's his gimmick. Just like, say, some other people's gimmick in the hobby that you'll hear certain people going on. But most of them, if you really test them at what they talk about, like if you actually get them into an actual play, You can run circles around most of them because they suck at what they're talking about. I'm just being real. This is the insecurity you're hearing. They know they suck. This is why they have to imply that they're better than you almost every day. And if they were confident, right? If they really were confident in what they do, they wouldn't have to imply that they are better. They wouldn't have to insult you. They wouldn't have to do any of this. So it's an actual sign of their insecurity, because confident people simply wouldn't do it. Okay, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.